So hi all, welcome to this introduction to MobX. MobX is a state management / data flow library with a very simple philosophy, and that is that most things in your application can be derived from your application state. And that's not just only the UI, but also aggregated values, caches, doing network requests. And basically the idea is that everything that can be done automatically based on the state should happen automatically. So you can maybe compare it with a spreadsheet where you have data cells and formulas, but those formulas you write them only once and you don't care about rerunning them whenever you change data. And so the same holds when working with MobX. And you put the state in central place in your application and you write derivations from that state to whatever should happen. But you don't worry about when it should happen, because that is what MobX does for you. So let me demonstrate it. So here we have the simple to-do application, and we have just the app state, which consists of a collection of to-dos. And what we can do is tell MobX that this data should be observed by MobX, so it can be tracked, and it will start tracking all the references and objects and values, arrays that are in this state graph. And so since we now track it, we can let things happen automatically whenever needed. So for that we use Autorun, which basically takes an expression and makes sure that when it needs to run, because data it uses has been changed, it will be run. And so we can use that to print out our to-do items by simply injecting them in the DOM. So let's do that in the most straightforward way possible. So there we have our to-dos, and what you now can do is that we can simply change one, and we see that the effect is automatically run. And we can also, of course, push new to-dos items to the collection. And there we are. We just change the state. We don't bother about rerunning effects, but we can be sure that MobX will bother for us. And so this is of course a bit naive way to manage the DOM. So we can make it more fancy by, for example, creating some React components that uses the app state and maps over all to the items in the app state and creates to-do components for that. And we use functionless components because it's quite convenient to write, and we don't need any state in the components themselves. And so we have this to-do item, and it displays the current state of done, and it also changes the state whenever we click it, except that doesn't work yet. And the reason for that is that React normally doesn't change or observe data, so we need to tell it to re-render. But telling to re-render, that is taking care of an effect ourselves, and we don't want that. We want that MobX derives the data for us. So what we can simply do is mark those components as being an observable component. And what that roughly does is that it wraps the render function of the components and then Autorun, just like you saw earlier. And so this is enough to bring our application to life. So if you now test it, you see that it will react. And you see the remaining part here, but we didn't calculate the remaining items yet. So let's add a formula for that. And what MobX.observable does is that as soon as it encounters an expression, so let's introduce an expression for left, it will update that one when needed and if in use. So we just simply filter the current to-do items by checking how many of them are not finished yet. So we now have added a formula for left, and we refer to that in our to-dos component, like here. And so you see that this is updated automatically when needed. And what the fun part of MobX is that it does this all very efficiently. So we have here the DevTools, which ship with MobX, and we can demonstrate when a component is re-rendered. So if I check this one, we see two components being re-rendered. One is the item that changes, and one is the wrapping to-dos component, which shows the remaining count, so it has to update. But if we, for example, just change the title, then the remaining count is affected, and you will see that in that case the outer component isn't changed. So you see that only one is re-rendered now. And similarly, we could just stop showing the amount of to-dos left. And what you then will see is that if we toggle the items, the wrapping component is also not re-rendered. So what MobX does is that it dynamically determines all the data dependencies a component has. And it does that fully automatically, so we don't have to worry in our actions about re-rendering stuff or something like that, because all components are derived automatically. And I can even show you that by, for example, inspecting this component, and then it shows all the properties that it's observing right now. And that concludes my very short intro to MobX. Thank you for watching.